Thank you for listening in today. This is Terry Anderson, and I am interviewing Mr. Ralph Finch, who provides a very valuable service to businesses and educational institutions, and maybe even for individuals. It's called Soft Skills, and I've got Ralph on the phone with me today, and we're going to have a conversation. Are you there, Ralph?
I am, Terry. Thanks for having me.
Very good. So why don't you tell me what you mean when you say that you do workshops on soft skills?
Well, Terry, you know that the buzzword in the world today is, particularly in education, is soft skills. And it's so important because many of our young people just don't have these skills. Please let me say first that in the workplace we have what are called hard skills. And these are specific abilities that are taught, and they can be measured, such as he or she is a teacher, an engineer, a plumber, a realtor, a lawyer, or a doctor, etc. So in essence, hard skills are part of the skill set that is required for a job. Employers typically require both soft skills and hard skills, though, when considering applicants for a job. And hard skills include the specific knowledge and those abilities that are required for success in a job in today's marketplace. Now, by contrast, Terry, the soft skills are less tangible, and it's just harder to quantify. Soft skills are what we use to interact with each other. I called my class that I taught at a major university social skills, parentheses, marketing yourself. And why did I do that? It's because that's what we all do from the time that we were born. As a child, you cried and you got fed and your diapers changed. It was all about you then, but as you grew older, you soon realized there are other people, not just your parents, but maybe siblings or other family members, friends, etc. Then you had to learn new skills to deal with these other people. Remember, as a teenager, Terry, you were trying to market yourself as you were asking your dad to borrow the family car the first time?
Sure do.
Marketing yourself is what it's all about. Social skills, soft skills, people skills, whatever you want to call them, are considered even more important to some employers than hard skills.
Yeah, absolutely. I do remember that occasion of asking for the car. Well, how long have you been doing this, and why do you have the status of an expert in this particular field? How long have you been doing it? Tell me about it.
Well, in essence, I got a background of 40 years working in retail, and it was for two major retailers across the nation. Of course, I observed people then. And answering that question, though, I would like to ask you to listen closely to this one statement. I know for a fact that the quickest way to get out of poverty, perhaps if a young person move out of your parents' home, begin a career, be successful in that career choice, have lots of friends, and lead a joyful life, is through learning and practicing social and soft skills. Now, I explain that, student, by sharing with my students 4-decade experience in the business world. And I've always felt that the best teachers, preachers, and leaders teach through personal stories and experiences. And I've got lots of those, in fact, 4 decades worth. I have observed human behavior, not just through my own experiences, but also through hundreds of others I've either hired or met through travels across the United States. And I was representing several of the largest corporations in America. And I have hired and studied hundreds of people, observing how they succeeded or even how they failed, depending on their personality, their social and soft skills, from architects to contractors to truck drivers. I also, Terry, have been involved in contributing to a leadership school, a 28,000 student university that's based on my 40 years experience in the workplace.
So you have been a student yourself for many years of these kinds of skills, as well as a teacher of these skills.
Yes, absolutely. Soaked it up all I could.
Well, you know, I hear what you say. My question might be, why should we teach these skills to the young people? I mean, I would think they already know these things.
That's true. That's an excellent question. I think that some students I have observed, or perhaps beginning employees, have been exposed to a lot of soft skills from their environment, mainly from their parents who may be professionals or who know these skills. However, my school teacher wife always says the motherhood of learning is repetition, repetition, repetition. And it never hurts to go over something to sharpen your skills. Sadly, many of our young people, they just don't know the soft skills needed in today's world. Their parents did not teach them. And the dumbing down of education in our society are certainly major contributors. Terry, my proudest moments are when a student writes me a thank you note. And then, by the way, I teach them how to do that. Mm-hmm. And they either send me a thank you note, or they email me, or text me, or call me, and they almost all say the same thing. Thank you, Mr. Finch. Nobody ever taught me that. You have helped my life so much, not only in my work life, but personally as well. Terry, I've had hundreds of these responses, so I know that these teachings make a difference. I repeat, I know for a fact that the quickest way to get out of poverty, get out of your parents' house, obtain a job, have lots of friends, and lead a joyful life is through learning and practicing social and soft skills.
Well, isn't that true? But I have another question, and that is this. You mentioned that you had 40 years of experience in the business and academic world, observing and teaching these principles. Why is it, how are you able to connect with young people? I assume you're not 21 years old. If you're like me, you're an older person. How do you communicate with these young people about this? How do you connect?
Well, I'm blessed, Terry. I've got lots of different friends in different age groups. I do remember being in my 20s. And the main thing I remembered about that was I had life-changing lessons from a lot of mentors. And Terry, it's sad to say, but I grew up in an environment that was not conducive to learning social skills. And going off to college was the best thing that ever happened to me. And it changed all that as I experienced learning social skills that I didn't even know even existed. And I have spent my entire life learning and sharing these skills with coworkers, friends, and students in classes. And when I go to my college campus, to my alma mater, it doesn't take long for some of the students to recognize me. And they often say across the corridor, Mr. Finch, when are you going to speak to us again in one of our classes? And you know, Terry, they treat me like a rock star when I go down there. And I do the same for them. And what I mean by that is having skills, let's say as a musician, is nothing unless you can share your skills and love with your fans. They treat me as a rock star because I care for them. And we relate to each other from my stories and their experiences. In a class, when I go as a guest speaker, I usually have them laugh and I usually have them cry. So I know we've got the connection. And many of them stay after class wanting to talk to me or wanting to go have a cup of coffee and ask me questions. They sense that connection, and they often say to me, Mr. Finch, you could be off playing golf with your friends, but you've chosen to come help us. And I teach them to be rock stars themselves, always helping other people. I believe that having wisdom, experience, and knowledge, with that comes a responsibility to share it, Terry, and I try to do that.
Well, that's a wonderful relationship to have. For those of us who have kids or no kids, I say kids younger than you and I are, but the younger people can gain a lot from an understanding of what you just told me. But why don't you tell me the kinds of subjects that you do cover in your classes?
Well, Terry, it's lots of them. It's lots of them. Some of the ones that come to mind, we have a class on perception. You probably know this. You are what you're perceived to be, not necessarily what you are. And there's so many things that we can cover with that in relationship to your classroom, to your boss, to your girlfriend. It's just a lot of things that relate to the perception. And we have a lot of fun doing it and explaining these things. We laugh as much as we can in the classes, which I think leads to a lot of great learning. Everybody knows about that first impression. You know, people talk about it, but what exactly does that mean? And we cover everything from eye contact and that firm handshake. We also teach young people to not say like every third word. I know you've talked to some young people and they say this and I want you to like, and it was like and like. Terry, that's the modern day version of huh or off us. And it's really just a filler word. We say it when we want to pause. And we've actually got a 2-minute drill that teaches young people to quit doing that. And that's really important from the older person's standpoint that doesn't understand why is this person saying like every 3 words to me. And we can teach them to stop that. A big class and one of my favorites is on attitude. And we teach that a positive attitude of gratitude is everything. If I can deal with someone and we have respect and a positive attitude of gratitude towards each other, we can accomplish almost anything. Another of my favorites is manners. And, you know, what exactly is that? No, sir, yes, ma'am. We try to teach some of the young people in dealing with older people. When I thank you, I expect you to say, you're welcome, or it's my pleasure. And so many of them today say, no problem. And an older person automatically says, well, gosh, are we going to have a problem the next time I thank somebody? See, the older people don't understand that. And I think it's fine to do that with their peers, but perhaps in the workplace or dealing with older people, maybe they want to say, it was my pleasure, or some of the verbiage that's taught at Chick-fil-A and some of the other fine companies make their reputation off of good manners. A class we do is called What Does It Take to Be Successful in Business? And I've got Charlie Martin, an author. He's got 12 cognitive brain functions that help manage your behavior. And it's just so exciting to talk about that with people because they realize how they can control some of those emotions. And, of course, I've got 40 years of experience to show them how to be successful in business. Also can show them how to fail. I did a class one time, Terry. It was the best class I think I ever did. When I would go to my campus, I would get on the electronic bulletin board, and somebody would say, well, Mr. Finch is coming to the business school tonight to talk about such and such. And so one week I put on the electronic board that I was going to teach how to fail at everything. And so I was down in there early on business for about 3 days, and I didn't shave, I didn't clean up, and put on my torn jeans and dressed as sloppily as I could. And I came in and I did the opposite of what I tried to teach them to do. And you know, I had 85 kids show up that evening. We had to break it up into 3 classes. And I stayed there till 11 o'clock. And I can't tell you how many notes I got from them because they said, gosh, it was like looking in the mirror, Mr. Finch. Thank you so much for doing that for us. And that was just a lot of fun. I mentioned earlier thank you notes. Terry, that thank you notes are not an old-fashioned technique for your grandparents. They are a must-have social skill. In my business, I have generated so much business and so much income by writing thank you notes. It's just unbelievable, and people appreciate it. I went to a function out in Las Vegas. I go every year for this convention, and I got invited to a dinner by a big corporation, and 4 out of the 8 executives that were there, I had written thank you notes to. Did you know that each one of them came over and thanked me for the note and said, almost all of them said, Ralph, this is why we do business with you, because you send us notes, you thank us, and you care. The last of the ones I've got on the list today is etiquette training. And you know that dinner that you have with a potential employee, it may be a test to see if you represent the company in a good image. I came up with a slogan. It's eat like a slob and you may lose the job. It can teach you dining manners, and these things will help you so much as you go out into the work. That's just a few of the things, Terry. We go on, we talk about etiquette for sale use, all kinds of things, and we try to update it and keep it current. So there's many, many more subjects that we discuss.
I have seen your materials, and I was impressed not only at the depth of your discussion, but also at the breadth, the variety of things that you cover. And as I thought about my own career over the years, I haven't done all of the things that you recommend, but I know and can point to examples of my successes when I did put into practice the very things that you discussed, because I've raised a couple of young people myself, and they do have to be taught. But let me ask you one final question here. Is this only for young students? Is there anybody else that could benefit from your workshops?
Absolutely, Terry. As I mentioned earlier, in the 40 years of retail experience I had, I always tried to pass whatever knowledge I had along to my coworkers. And the workshops that we do now are very much tailored for company personnel as well, particularly for those employees who have contact with the public. And I think that any CEO or president of his own company would want these skills for their employees, whether the employees be it administrative assistants, salespeople, executives, or just starting in the mailroom. Everyone needs these skills. And I've got to repeat this one more time, Terry. I know for a fact that the quickest way to get out of poverty, obtain a job, have lots of friends, and lead a joyful life is through learning and practicing social and soft skills. I can be reached at 804-615-8805 by call or text. My mailing address is Ralph Finch, Finchmore Farm, 2420 Mannequin Town Ferry Road, Midlothian, Virginia, 23113, or I can be reached by email at finchmorefarm@msn.com. And thanks so much, Terry, for talking to me today.
It's my pleasure, Ralph. And let me ask you to repeat your phone number one more time.
The phone number is 804-615-8805.
Very good. I have enjoyed this conversation. You have a lot to offer. As I mentioned, I have reviewed all of your materials. It's impressive, and I agree with you that these are skills that each and every one of us could use at every level of our lives, whether it's how you behave with your family or your friends or your prospective employers, maybe even your boyfriend or girlfriend. Okay, well, thank you again, and I look forward to seeing your success.
Great. Thank you, Terry.
You're very welcome, and thank you.